Hello, everybody. This is Pastor Green. We're doing another Read the Bible in 1 year, day 139, Esther 4 through 6. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, click the notification bell. That way you get updated whenever I post a new video. Like the video and also comment. Anything you comment's going to help me out. I'd appreciate that. Remember, I'm dyslexic and I stutter, so when I see a big word, I get a little confused. Just bear with me. And here we go. Esther chapter 4. When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went out to the midst of the city, and cried with a loud and bitter cry, and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province, whatsoever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was a great mourning among the Jews, and fasting, and weeping, and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes. So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told her. When the queen exceedingly grieved, she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai, and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he received it not. Then called Esther for Hattach, one of the king's chamberlains, whom had appointed an attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to know what it was and what it was, why it was. So Hattach went forth to Mordecai into the streets of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him all that had happened unto him, and unto some of the money that Haman had promised to pay the king's treasury for the Jews to destroy them. And so he gave the copy of the writings of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it to Esther, and to declare it unto her, and to charge her that she should go into the king, to make supplication unto him, and to make request before him and her people. And Hattach came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again Esther spoke to Hattach. She gave him commandments unto Mordecai. All the king's servants and the people of the king's provinces do know that whosoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold unto the golden sepulchre, that he may live. But I have not been called to come unto the king these 30 days. And they told Mordecai Esther's words. And Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself, and thou shalt escape the king's house more than the Jews. If thou altogether holdest thy peace at the time, then shall their enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed, and who knowest whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? Then Esther bade them to return Mordecai's answer. Go gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days or nights. And also my maidens will fast likewise, and I will do unto the king, which is not according to the law. If I perish, I perish. So Mordecai went his way and did according to all that Esther commanded him. Esther chapter 5. Now it came to pass on the 3rd day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house. And the king sat upon his royal throne at the royal house, over against the gate of the house. And it was so, when the king saw Esther the queen standing in the court, that she obtained favor in his sight. And the king held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. So Esther drew near and touched the top of the scepter. Then said the king unto her, What wilt thou, Queen Esther? And what is thy request? It shall be given to thee the half of the kingdom. And Esther answered it, If it seem good to the king, let the king and Haman come this day unto the banquet that I prepared for him. And the king said, Cause Haman to make haste, that he may do as Esther has said. So the king and Haman came to the banquet that Esther had prepared. And the king said to Esther, The banquet of wine, what is thy petition? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? Even to the half of the kingdom it shall be performed. Then answered Esther and said, My petition and my request is, if I have found favor in thy sight of the king, and if it pleases the king to grant my petition and to perform my request, let the king and Haman come to the banquet that I shall prepare for them, and I will do tomorrow as the king has said. Then went Haman forth that day joyful and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he stood not up nor moved for him, he was forced to indignation against Mordecai. Nevertheless Haman refrained himself, and when he came home he sent and called his friends and Zeresh his wife. And Haman told them the glory of his riches, and the multitude of his children, and all the things that were the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the princes and servants of the king. Haman said moreover, Yea, Esther the queen did let no man come in with the king unto banquet that she had prepared but myself, and tomorrow I am invited to her also with the king. Yet all this availeth me nothing, so as long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. Then said Zeresh his wife and all his friends unto him, Let a gallows be made of 50 cubits high, And tomorrow speak thou to the king that Mordecai may be hanged thereon. Then go to thy marry with the king of the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, and he caused the gallows to be made. Esther chapter 6. And that night could not the king sleep, and he commanded to bring the book of records of the chronicles, and they were read before the king. And it was found written that Mordecai had told of Bigthana and Teresh, two of the king's chamberlains, the keeper of the door, who sought to lay hands on the king Ahasuerus. And the king said, what honor and dignity has been done to Mordecai for this? And it said, the king's servants that ministered unto him, there is nothing done for him. And the king said, who is in this court? Now Haman was come to the outward court of the king's house to speak to the king to kill Mordecai on the gallows that had prepared for him. And the king's servant said unto him, behold, Haman standeth in the court. And the king said, let him come in. So Haman came in, and the king said unto him, what shall be done to the man whom the king delighted to honor? Now Haman thought in his heart, to whom the king delighted to do honor more than to himself. And Haman answered the king, for the man whom the king delighted to honor, let the royal apparel be brought that the king uses to wear, and the horse that his king rideth upon, and the crown which is set upon his head. And let his apparel and horse be delivered to the hand of the one of the king's most noble princes, and they may array the man withal, whom the king delighted to honor, and bring him on horseback through the streets of the city, to proclaim before him, thus shall be done to the man of the king who delighted to honor. So the king said to Haman, make haste and take the apparel of the horse, as thou hast said, and do even so to Mordecai the Jew that sitteth on the king's gate. Let nothing fall of this that is spoken. Then took Haman the apparel of the horse, and arrayed Mordecai, and brought him to the horseback throughout the streets of the city, and proclaimed before him, this shall be done to the man whom the king delighted to honor. And Mordecai came again to the king's gate, but Haman hasted into his house mourning and having his head covered. And Haman told Zeresh his wife and his friends everything that had befallen him. Then said his wise men to Zeresh his wife to him, if Mordecai be one of the seeds of the Jews, before whom thou hast begun to fall, thou shalt not prevail against him, but shalt surely fall before him. And while it was yet talking with him, came the king's chamberlains and hasted to bring Haman to the banquet that Esther had prepared. Well, guys, that's the video. I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the bell, like the video, and also comment. I'm going to put a couple links on the screen. The bottom right is going to be the Read the Bible in 1 year. Top left is going to be a playlist I think you're going to like. And the bottom left is going to be a video YouTube things you're going to like. If you know somebody that might benefit from this, please share it with them. You can also share it on social media. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a great day.